Welcome back to Healing Together, a YouTube channel where we encourage each other through God stories and testimonies of how God works in our lives. Today we're going to introduce you to Debbie's sister Carolyn and her husband Sonny. We're going to tell you the story through their eyes and through their sharing with how God brought them into communion with Him. I hope that you stay and you enjoy the story of how God brought Sonny together with Carolyn and Debbie's dad, and how God just moved Sonny into the kingdom just gently through time in the service and through a lot of different things, even miraculous visitors by angels that we saw in the hospital as Sonny was there having different surgeries. I hope that you'll like and share the story of Sonny. It's a powerful story. Please subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell and it will notify you when the second half comes up. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's enjoy a few laughs as we hear how God works in our lives through Sonny and Carolyn's eyes. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're here today to recollect, to call to memory what God has done in our lives. The basis for today is Revelation 12:11. It says that they overcame the evil one by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony. And so that's what we're here for. We're going to start with early and hopefully end up with what we have today. Sonny, tell me about your growing up life.
I started off when I was 10 years old. The only thing about God and Jesus that I knew about was what I heard. People talking about it, which I didn't believe it. I figured I had a bunch of bull. I growing up, started working with the neighbors. They took me to church. Went down the hills, corners down there. Went there for a while. I said, I don't much care for this. I said, I don't like the way the preacher's preaching. I don't care for this. Because I get nothing out of it. And I didn't get nothing out of it. So I went to another one over here by Frog Hollow, my neighbor, Mr. Sweeve. And that went for a while, and then the pastor quit and he moved out. They started another one over here in Little Vendora. And I said, nah, I ain't gonna go to that either. Other one matter like fishing, I run into friends of mine. They were friends, and afterwards, I didn't know them then. And they talked me into going to church with them. I said, all right. So I went up here. I started going back and forth with them. He wouldn't hit me too much, old Brother Ruth up there, pastor. I wasn't getting too much out of it, so the congregation all got together, built him a house, and a little shed the side of it for his den. Which that was fine. I thought, oh, man, that's great. He says, you're picking up pretty good here in the church. He says, you ever been baptized? I said, I never heard of it. Didn't. Never heard of it. How would I, at 10, 11 years old here, being baptized? You don't. So, they put me in the little creek run up through there, and they put the ladder through, baptism, put me in there. They said, get in. I got in, I was standing up in there, the water running through. He stepped down in the little steps down in there. I looked at him, and I says, Pastor? He said, what? I said, this ain't for me. And I got out. Never got baptized, I just got out. A month later or so, the pastor sold his house, took the funds from the church and skipped out. They didn't know where he went. Darlene, her husband, moved into the church there. And I said, if the pastor's going to be doing this to God, when I heard so much about God now, the pastor's going to do this, I don't want no part of this either. So I quit. I never went to church again. I just quit. Went to service. They wanted to take me into the church there, the Catholic. I said, no, I don't want no Catholic church. I said, I don't feel right. I don't want it. So I didn't go. Working there in the Word, without a medic, which I didn't want that. I wanted to be a mechanic, but I got 88% mechanic, and I got 97% medic. Couldn't put a Band-Aid on a person. So I went to medics. That was a great deal, I tell you. Went through training, all that good stuff. Went to Colorado, Texas, all over for training. Went overseas to France, La Rochelle. I was in there in the Word, working. Got up in the morning, got dressed, going to go to work. Had to go up on the 7th floor. Working there, and then I worked at CMS too, external relations, so I worked with the doctor. I'd bring the tray in, and I'd take the instruments out and hand them to the nurse. The major, she'd hand them to the doctor. The doctor would say, young man, get over here and hold these faucets and stuff for me. So I got so sick that I couldn't do it, but I did. Oh, that was a sight for sore eyes, I tell you. I said, how can you do all this? He said, I got the Lord with me. I said, the Lord ain't doing this. Because I didn't believe in it. I said, he ain't doing this. So I went on. Went up to the 7th floor, getting ready to go to work. This young Korean woman got in the elevator with me, and she was, oh my gosh, was she? She had to go to the 5th floor and return it up there. Well, we got almost up there, and she went down on the floor, and here comes part of it out. So I took her hold the shoulders and pulled the rest of it out. Took her dress and covered her up. Held my hand, had the baby in the aisle. The door opened. I stuck my foot out. I come and get my foot out and close, open and close. And I was hollering for help. Oh boy, that was a mess. Bread and water all over the stinking floor and all over me. That's why I got puke.
Stronger than you think.
But I didn't. The nurse come under the door, she pushed the button, she said, oh my gosh, she started screaming and hollering. Here come the head one in there, got the baby, she cut the cord, tied it. And she says, I'll take the baby. I got up and I helped to put her on the little stretcher deal with the wheels to get her to it. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm a mess. I said, I'm late for work. And I'm going to be in trouble. I got to go all the way back down to the barracks and change and take a shower. She said, no, you take a shower here. So I went in with her. She said, you will take a shower. She told one of the other nurses, we're getting his uniform and stuff. And I said, that captain up on the 7th floor, I said, this ain't going to make no difference to her. She says, I will take care of her. I said, how can you do that? She says, I am a colonel. That's how I can take care of it, she said. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, you want me to go up with you? I said, oh, you can just call her. I said, no, I don't. I said, I don't want you going with me, no. So I went up there, and the captain, she says, oh, she said, I am proud of you.
That's cool. Yay.
And I said, well, thank you, ma'am. I said, I hate you have to work this little extra overtime for me. She said, I work overtime for you anytime, she said, anymore.
That's
And I thought, no, I feel so good. You know, Halloween necklace. So, a little later, the colonel called us all out of the barracks, lined us up, called me out of the line. He said, here, Mr. Fletcher, said, I got something for you. And I said, yes, sir. He had me a box of cigars. I said, what's this for, sir? He said, for my wife and my baby.
Oh, cool.
I said, well, thank you, sir. I said, I appreciate this. I turned around and went back. I said, what? He said, here, pin it on, unit citation.
Nice.
Pin it on my shirt. You know, my jacket.
Yeah,
my
right.
uniform.
Right.
I still got it in there.
Nice.
And he gave me a unit citation.
Nice.
And I was so proud of him. You know, they didn't have to do nothing.
Right.
Made me feel real good.
So tell us about meeting Carolyn.
Oh, boy. My first date with her,
No, back up to meeting her the first time.
First
that
time you
was my
seen
first date. That's coming.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
had met her yet.
Okay. Stay with it.
We were supposed to have a date. My buddy got us a date. Yeah. Got my car and I was up there. Tom, my brother, and met them, the two of them. Charlie and Harry. We went in a spot. Tiny's in a spot there. We went in there, we come out. Harry says, man, look at that boat. He sent across the street going down there. And I looked, and it just a jiggling little thing. I said, I'm going to marry that. Harry said, there's no way. He said, you're going to get a little something like that. He said, she's up too high and mighty. She said, there's no way you're going to get a hold of that. I said, I am going to marry that. I said, I know I'm going to marry that. A couple of weeks later, she's sitting on the fender of my car, talking to my buddy's daughters. I come out of the spot and I looked over and I just picked her up and put her over my shoulder, put her in my car and drove off. An hour later, I bring her back. We started doing together. We went together for 3 years before we got married.
Can
I met her
interrupt you a
family and
minute?
all them, you know.
Okay, my turn. Just 1 minute. First time he seen me, I was 15,
Yeah.
and it was the bicentennial in Glen, and I was doing the cotton candy machine. Debbie, you remember this? And he come up to me, him and his friends, and here he was, Mr. Stud Elvis Presley type person back then. Had his cigarettes rolled up in his shirt sleeve, you know, and his blue jeans. And he come up and he said, I'm going to take you out. And I said, you are not. He said, no. He said, I want to take you out. And I said, you get away from me because my dad will beat you up. Oh, I'm not afraid of your dad. And I said, and I got 19 brothers. And I said, I remember that. I didn't tell him that 9 of them was younger than me.
Right.
Well, I got 7 of them.
So, and I
got the fight, I tell you.
I just told him, I said, you get away from me. So he did, but he went and won a Cupid doll, which was a gorilla, and brought that, thought that was going to soften me up, but it didn't. I took it home, and my sister Penny gave it to her kids. I remember that. But that's the first time. So then I didn't see you for like 3 years. I didn't even remember he existed. That's when he went to the service and all this other happened. Yeah. But then I was up in my friend Sally's house because I'd already graduated now, and we were standing outside talking. Then he picks me up, puts me in his car, and we went gone for an hour. You went around the block and came back.
She got an hour.
It was close enough for you, right? How did meeting Carolyn, and I don't want to over spiritualize this, but did meeting Carolyn bring you back in contact with the Lord?
Well, mostly her and her dad did.
I was going to say, bring her dad into the picture, and how did that go?
Because when I went and picked her up there at the house there, and met her mother family, you know, and her dad, me and him, we hit it. We hit it pretty good, and he was telling me, but he wasn't pushing me.
Yeah.
He was telling me, he says, I know, he said, the Lord's in your heart. He said, I know it's in your heart. And he, with his finger, he put right in and boom, let me know, you know. And then I thought a lot of that little man right then, you know. He was honest with me. He wasn't beating around the bush or nothing. He was fair and he was honest with me. Her and him, they went back and forth. I went with her a couple of times to church over there. Just the other one. And we got married in the first one before they had the other one going.
13th of May.
13th of May.
Yes.
And they was moving out of the one and the other one. That's where we got married at. And
Okay.
the first one, remember? And I met Dwayne and his wife,
Right.
Doreen.
Right. How did meeting Carolyn, falling in love, getting married, the relationship with Lester, Carolyn and Debbie's dad, and talk a little bit about Lester leaving to go to California.
There's a lot of time in between
There
there.
is a lot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm totally oblivious to it.
Yes.
So I don't, you know, talk about the time between you guys dating and marriage, and see, if you were married in 67,
And Daddy died in 69.
so there was only 2 years there. But talk about that 2 years.
Well, her dad went with me when they got married. He drove the old Chevy, the old 39
Okay.
over there. He fixed my tie, straightened me all up nice. Took me over to the semi over there. The other one, not the main big one, but the other one.
Right.
Took me over there, and on the way he reached over there and took a hold of it. And he pinned his ship on my tie that he got when he was in the service. I still got that too.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to have this. So you know that old man thought a lot of me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did him too, you know. My goodness. I told if he would go out, go to the junkyard, their tractor junkyard, and stuff get parked, he'd come back. I'd go in the tavern to get something, come out, he'd stand there at the door. He would not go in. And that's the way I am now. I won't go in with him.
Right.
Because I remember what he said. And once in a while, you stay out of it, you know. And I'd come out and I'd bring him a beef sandwich. Because he loved them out of the tavern, them sandwiches. Like a, you know, like your foot long you get.
Right. Right.
Well, they made some wonderful ones. And he said, I always got his one. Well, he boots and stuff for Christmas. I thought he was going to die. He laughed so hard. He loved that stuff, you know. He wanted them zipper type on the sides. We went all over and finally found them for him. And the kids are toys. We went all over and went get the stuff for them. Me and Mother. Because we loved the kids and the family. And their mama. Mama Bear was, she was something else, you know. But she was still Mama Bear to me.
That's referring to Debbie's mother.
Carolyn's mom.
Yeah, Debbie and Carolyn's mom.
Yeah.
He never went fishing before in his life. He wouldn't go fishing. I took her over to Dad's on the pond down there in the woods. Yeah, we went fishing. They got a new pole for retirement from the school. He said, what am I going to do with this? I said, I'll show you how to use it. So I took him fishing. We caught a few, but they mud, you know, so we threw them back. I said, I ain't going to eat that muddy fish like that. They taste from the other one. You know, we flew back. Spent the whole day. Got in my boat, my little boat, started it up. And we went backwards right into this stinking dock. Dad had down there. I said, what? I I lured out. That old Johnson, I still got the motor. Started up that sucker back. Went backward, I went right into the dock again. So I go out, started up, turned it around, and away we went. So we went fishing. My dad worked on it, they put the one propeller on it, and the sucker went backwards.
Oh my
I
God.
had to turn around the motor, you switch it around and go forward.
Oh my
Oh
God.
boy.
But Daddy would come and pick Sonny up, and my mom would come over, he'd come pick him up. And he would just take him for a ride. Daddy would, he'd just come take him for a ride. Go get a Pepsi Cola. Yeah.
Daddy liked this
Yeah.
Pepsi Cola.
I wheeled in down there and I said, Pop, I got to go to the junkyard. I said, where Mr. Luck? Come on, he said, get in my car. And he got that 61 black Buick. Beautiful sucker. He said, I'm going to take you in my. I said, let's take my truck. I said, let's take my pickup truck. You like that? He said, I'm going to show you my car. He had one of the kids with us in the back. And then we drew her away. One of them with us. And we went. He come up. Oh! And I went. I said, what's my wrong? I'm breaking my foot. Breaking my foot. I said, what do you mean you break your foot? He said, it's under the wood, fellow. I said, well, I'll never break it. Get it out. He said, we got to stop. I said, don't worry about stopping right now. Get your foot out.
Oh. I remember when Daddy told Dwayne and Bruce, your dad Bruce, about that. They just about, they cracked up.
I've never heard that story.
Oh, I remember your dad had said to him that he said, it sounds about like my drinking days.
He said, Sonny, he said, I had a 50 Ford station wagon. Wooden one. Beautiful big, he said. He was telling me when we went coming back to get the parts. And he said, he said, just remind me of that. And I said, why? Why is that? He said, yeah, he said, it was snowing and blowing. He said, down there, the Dayton. He said, I was going down. He said, I went in the ditch with it. Here come this man, the semi, he said. Pull me out. Hook the chain and pull me out. He said, I pulled so hard at him to get him to stop. Trying to get him to stop. He said, I couldn't steer it. He said, the steering wheel was locked. And them old ones, the key was fit in there on them.
Yeah.
Them old Fords locked the steering wheel. He said, I dropped the key down on the floor. He said, I couldn't steer it, so I just got down there and pulled it. He said, I found my key. He said, I put it in there. He said, I finally got it where I could steer it. And the guy pulled over. He said, I hooked the chain. He said, boy, he said, I was sure praising God. He said, I was scared to death. Yeah, he was telling me about that.
So when do you remember the first time you really felt like you came to Christ as your Savior? You made Jesus your Savior.
When I really hit with Jesus, and it really hit me, was when him, Pastor Jeff, and Rascal got baptized. That's when it really hit me. I was shaking, my hair was just tingling. We standing there at the window, and Pastor Jeff was talking to the congregation, And I said, what? See? And I reached over and I took the mic right away from this sucker. And I started talking to the people. Mother, she was glad.
Surprised me. I didn't know they were going to do this.
Man, oh man. And I was telling them about what the Lord, I said, it's really hit me. Man, I've never felt nothing like this before in my life. I told him, I said, why don't you all get up here? I said, come on, get this water. Man, I said, it's sure. Nobody's kid. Pastor Jeff, he's kind of hiding his head a little bit there, the way I was talking to him, you know.
What he had done is when he called him down to, I didn't even know. I thought, why are they at? They're supposed to be in here sitting down. And then when Pastor Jeff got up in the baptismal tank, then he called Sonny down. And I looked up there and I just stood up and I thought I was going to pass out. I really did. And I got up out of my seat and I walked up and stood toward the altar. And there was just all the women just come up there. I mean, there was Kay and Darla and just everybody was up there. And then he said, and now we'll call his son down. And this is where he said the son will bury the father's old bones. And he had Sonny baptize his dad.
Yep. Then Megan, she got married. I stood up with her. Was in rehearsal. Walked her down the aisle there in the pastor. He said, "Who gave this woman away?" And I put my arm up and I said, "We the people!" Oh my God, she went up. Oh, the arm was right down the my goodness.
He said, Sonny, you aren't really going to say that, are
You
you?
never say that when you come up here?
Megan was laughing so
I said,
hard.
I'll think about it.
I said, he will not.
We got up there and he said, "Who gave us this girl away?" And I said, "The family." And he told me, he said, "I've never heard nobody say that before in my life to him." I said, "The family does." But he did.
Yeah.
I was just there. I didn't give her away.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But to go back some, Sonny drank a lot. He did. He drank a lot. He was everything we were ever taught to stay away from because of that. But there was just something about him, something in that he had such a good heart. He just always had such a good heart, and Daddy's seen that, and I guess that's what it really enticed me with him. Is I didn't like him, but he was sure a good man. He was just a good man, and he cared so much about everybody, and so that and that's what. But he drank a lot. And that was the problem. That was a big problem for us.
And don't you think that Daddy might have seen in Sonny, because I know little bits of Mom and Dad drank, and Daddy smoked a lot before the Lord delivered him from that. I remember the 3 packs of cigarettes a day story from Daddy, and that they would drink with Aunt Babe and Uncle Vic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And cards and drink.
Yeah. And so when Daddy was delivered from that, he knew he had a good heart. Our Daddy was a good man. And he saw that in Sonny. You know, he saw that, and he knew that it was going to be okay.
Yes. And he saw a lot of himself in Sonny.
Exactly.
I know he did.
Exactly.
And
I believe that.
And nothing against the older brothers and sisters, you know, their brothers and sisters. But he knew no matter what he needed or wanted, he could go to Sonny and Sonny would make it happen. And Sonny did so much for his own family. He knew that it was needed. He would step in and take care of Daddy's family. But he did. Sonny just liked his beer too much. But to go back to what I was told, he was basically almost born an alcoholic. Because what they did when they were little, his grandma lived with us, and she had told us this. They had the glass beer bottles and the rubber nipples that just come over the top of the bottles. If he would cry too much, they'd give him a bottle of beer and put him to sleep at night. So he was basically addicted from birth on to beer, which is alcohol.
So go ahead and talk about some of that time between Lester's death, your marriage, Lester's death, and those hard years that we talked about until he really had to make the change.
Okay, that, like I said, he drank. He took very good care of us. Financially, he worked. The man worked. He would never miss work. If he stayed out all night and got drunk, he'd go to work. If he was sick, he'd go to work. The bills was paid. After Daddy passed away, he made sure that he helped Mom financially if the kids ever needed anything, that he was there. He took care of everything, but he drank too much.
And for every beer that he had, we had to have a Pepsi.
Had to have a Pepsi. I tell you, I was known as the Pepsi Cola kid at all the bars. I tell you, I hate Pepsi still, but it's so heavy. But he was a good man, but he just wouldn't quit drinking. When he would drink, he had a temper. Sonny never beat me. He never beat me. He come close a few times to slapping me. He might push me out of the way. He never beat me, but I could not stand the drinking anymore. His brother would come in the middle of the night and wake us up. He'd go out and he'd pick a fight and come home and get him, and he would go, and next thing you know, he's in a brawl somewhere fighting. I couldn't stand it no more. I mean, I was trying to go to church. He never stopped me from going to church. Take the kids, we'd go to church. He wouldn't stop us. But if we left him home, I never knew what I'd come home to. And it just got where I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I just couldn't. I never knew what the next day was going to bring. So, come to a very hard decision. And we left. Grandma Fuller lived with us then, his grandma. And the kids and I, and we took Grandma with us. We left and left him a note. He come home from work, and I cashed his check, had everything all on the table for him, left him a note, and he was mad. We headed out, didn't know where we were going. I didn't want to go around anybody because I didn't know what he was going to do. Because, like I said, he had a temper. It was nothing for him to. He was a strong man. He could pick up an engine of a car and change it by himself, pick it up out the back of the truck and put it in the car. He was a strong man, and he always said if I ever left him, he'd kill me. I was his. This is what he said the first time he seen me. I was his. I would never belong to nobody else. I was his. And I had talked to Pastor about it, and he wanted to put the kids and I away someplace where he thought we'd be safe. I said, no, I can't do that. If we're going to do this, we have to get out of here. So I went and seen a lawyer, and I had filed for divorce. I just couldn't handle it no more. So when he went over to Mom's and he was mad, I guess he just was hollering and cussing and probably had him a few beers. When I get my hands on her, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her. Mom didn't even know. I didn't even tell Mom where I was at. I would call her, but I wouldn't tell her where we was at. We headed into Indiana, and where am I going to go in Indiana? I don't know anybody in Indiana. So we ended up going north. So this went on for, almost a week. And he went to work. Every day he went to work. He'd come home, and every day he'd go by Mom's. He went by everybody's house. Where's she at? I know you know where she's at, but nobody knew where I was at. And we prayed. We prayed and prayed. Sonny was little, and Jennifer was just really little. And then we come back home, and Mom said, though, that started about the third day. On the third day, he started crying and would come. He said, I just got to know, is she all right? Are they okay? And she said, well, she calls me, she's okay, but I don't know where she is. He said, just please tell me, is she okay? He said, I can't sleep. And he just said, I got to know. He said, where is she? Please, I want her to come home. I want my family. So about a week, we came back to Mom's, and we'd been praying. The kids thought we were basically on vacation right then without Daddy, I think. And we came home, and Mom told me, and I called him, and he just started crying. And you know, I never seen him really cry. And I said, you want to get something to eat? Why don't I want to go get something and bring you something to eat. Have you been eating? He said, no, I'm fine. And I said, no. And I said, why don't we meet? Let's go get something to eat. And he said, no. He said, I'm fine. And I said, okay. So I said, I'll get something and come home and we'll have dinner. I said, but I'm not staying. I'm not coming back. We're just going to talk. I want you to see we're okay. So I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken and got some chicken and come home. And he just cried and cried and cried. And I said, well, we can't go on like we were. We just can't do that. I can't do that no more. I don't want my kids. I don't want your kids to grow up the way you grew up. He didn't beat them. The worst thing he ever did was take his hat off and smack them with his hat. He did that to you too, the kids. That was weapons to him, because he would never hurt the kids.
No, not ever.
Because he had been hurt too many times.
Yeah, not ever.
And we talked, and I called Mom. Mom didn't want me to come. She was scared. She thought he would flip out.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And he told me, he said, I'll never drink a beer again. So I said, well, and I told him, I said, I filed for divorce. I really did. I can't take this. And he said, well, what are we going to do? He said, I don't want to lose you. I can't live without you. And I said, well, there's more than just me in this situation, and the kids. I said, I need to go to church. I need to live with Jesus. I need to live in it. He has to be in our home. And he said, I don't know what to do. I said, well, then we really need to start talking. You really need to start talking. So I called Mom and said, I'm not coming back. I told him, I said, I will not live with you as your wife until we got 6 months to work this out. So kids and I come back home. We were not together as man and wife, but we lived in the same home. We were having a big dinner, and you guys was here. And he pulled in the driveway from work, and his black car pulled in. He walks over and sits underneath the willow tree, and the man hands him his divorce papers. And he sat there, and he just broke. And I went out, and you guys didn't want me to go out there. You didn't know what he was going to do. I mean, everybody knew what was going on. And I went out there then, and I told him, and I said, I love you. I said, but we really have to do this. And he said, pray with me. I had forgot that. Will you pray with me? And we did. And I said, okay, now we can try. Now we can try. So we went to Niles and rented an apartment. I put him in the apartment. He was all for this. We were gonna do this. So we started basically, I guess you call it dating all over. He'd take the kids, they'd spend nights with him. He'd try to braid Jennifer's hair and bring them home for school. Yeah. And there was times he would come, and then we got to where he would start staying home. And then as closer as we got, he was taking me, we were going out, and he was just lavishing his life on us. He started going to church with us. He'd come over and he'd be all ready for church. Then he started staying home. I got where then I would start staying with him up there. At the end of the 6 months, I got the papers. I went, called the lawyer, and I said, this is done. And we tore the papers up. We threw them in the fire. They said, that's it. He's just no more. And Charlie would come to the house and he said, I'm not doing that anymore. He said, I'm not going to go fight your battles. You grow up. You did this to yourself. You grow up. His brothers got where they quit having anything to do with him. All of them. They didn't like the life that he was living. You know. And he became very attached to your dad and Dwayne and Bob Shue.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he tried and tried, and he really became a different man to the kids. He always loved the kids. He made Debbie drive our car when he was drunk one day. She was 14.
She done a good job. I'm still here.
Now you see, I've always heard that you were a little bit distracted from your driving.
Yeah, he was drunk.
Well,
maybe he sit in the back seat with him. Or drive the car.
Just because you was lonely, right?
Yeah.
He wanted me to learn, and that then was the appropriate time, and I didn't think it was appropriate at that time. It wasn't.
Well, sometimes teaching somebody to drive is a little easier when you're drunk.
Yeah, he used to make me drive when he got drunk too, or got stopped by the police, and they said, well, can your wife drive? And he said, yes, she can. I wasn't his wife, and I didn't know how to drive.
But he did make sure I learned how to do that shifting of the H and go
H.
through and the river. Yeah. This man right here.
But he had to choose. He had to finally choose which life he really wanted to live.
So in the end, at the end of that part of that story, okay, not today, back then, when you began to go to church and you burnt the divorce papers, you had given up the alcohol, you had fought those battles that day, was it worth it?
Yep. God made it worth it. Give it all up. Yeah.
But there were still hard times to have to work through and struggle.
But I asked him when me and Mother was having our problems. I asked God. I said, God, I'm getting where I know you. Why did you let the devil come in on me? I said, I know you got more pulled to the devil. I said, why don't you run chase him out of here? And then I found out later I had to do the chasing, not him. He put it to me, I had to chase the devil away. And I tell you, that's a sucker, boy, that's quite a job trying to do that. Get rid of that sucker, because he keeps coming back.
Yes.
He still comes back.
Exactly.
But you got to run him out of there.
Exactly.
He had drank so long, his whole life, that to go into a restaurant now, he could smell beer, he could taste it, and not drink it. So we don't go in those places.
Right.
Right.
You know, we don't.
And how long has it been since the willow tree?
See, it was close to our 14th anniversary, and we're going to be married 55 years.
Has God been faithful?
Maybe it was even
He always
before
is.
our 14th. It might have been before that, because Sonny was little. They were little.
Yeah,
If God wouldn't have given me a Christian woman, I would not be here today. And I do know that.
Yeah.
All the stuff I've been through, I'd never been here today.
Yeah.
I didn't have one. So I figured it's about time I start getting with him a little bit. You know?
Sonny was only about 8 years old, I think.
Yeah, he was still little.
Yeah, he was only about 8 years old.
And you're 50.
But I've always known
51.
he was
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
I've always known that.
Yeah.
And that's it, when I was 21, they cut me out of the car. I knew he was with me. I'm alive, I'm here. Had two open hearts, he was with me. I seen Jesus for this.
Tell us about that.
I did, I seen Jesus there. They had these screens that go in between the rooms. But they had me in before I went in for the operation. And I knew it was him because he had long hair and he had a robe on. But it was a picture in the cloth. And I told Mother, I said, I seen him before I went into the operating room. So I knew I was going to be all right. That was my first open heart. The second one, when I come out, I run into the angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they know it. I said it. Because I had the eye swallowed to show to prove that she gave it to me.
Tell us about that. Tell us that story.
Yeah, I come out of surgery. I don't remember coming out, but I remember in the recovery room waking up. And I was the only one in there. I looked around, man, it was dark and it was a little light over by the cabinets and the sink. And then all at once I see the wheels shine like a light. Beautifulest woman I ever seen in my stinking life. And I thought I married one. But man, this sucker just glowed. She glowed. She had that light blue hat on, thing like you have in recovery, and a uniform. And the slippers on. But boy, she just glowed. It's just like I was looking at this light. It was just shining. Like gosh, she shined. And I asked her, I says, am I dead? She says, no. I said, I sure think I am. She says, no, you're not. I said, my throat's so dry I can't stand it. I said, can I have a glass of water? She says, no. I said, you sure want to help? She said, I'll give you some ice cubes. I said, all right. Thank you. She brought me a cup of ice cubes. Not a paper cup, a cup of ice cubes with a spoon. She gave me some. Then come my wife and my sister-in-law. Come in with the Carmen. The man, their wife. They come in the room. I asked him, I looked around and I asked him, I said, where'd that beautiful young lady go? He said, there was nobody in here. I said, well, tell me there was nobody in here. I said, where'd she go? He said, I was the only one in here, and I went and got your family. He said, come back. He said, there's nobody in here. I said, yes, there was. He said, no, there wasn't. I said, then how'd I get this cup of ice in the spoon? He looked down here and says, I don't know. And boy, they wheeled me out of there like you wouldn't believe it. Down the hallway, in another room.
He was still all hooked up,
Yeah.
wasn't he? He
Yeah.
was still all hooked up to everything.
Yeah, there was no time for anybody
Yeah.
to have gotten in there. There would have been no reason for anybody else. Yeah,
I mean, they had him hooked up to everything.
yeah, he was,
Yeah.
still, all this was
Yeah.
still here. Yeah.
Then we come home. Sat into my recliner in her back. Phone rang. She answered. She said, it's your brother, Charlie. So I talked to him. I said, what's the matter, Charlie? He said, doctor, give me the wrong medicine. He said, messed my liver up. I said, when did all that happen? He said, well, you were gone. He said, messed my liver up. Will you take me to the hospital in the morning? He said, I got an appointment. I got to go to the hospital in the morning. Will you take me to the hospital in the morning? I said, yeah, I'll take you. I said, why me? He says, you know why. Because me and Charlie, we was, He said, you know why. So I knew God was working on him right there. For him to call me, because I talked to him. I was not about God. But he told me, he said, there ain't no God and there ain't no heaven. When you're dead, you're dead. And I said, Charlie, if that was so, I'd have been dead a long time ago. I said, I went through 2 open hearts now. And I said, you got a pacemaker. I said, if he wasn't there, we'd be dead. Well, you take me tomorrow. I said, yeah, I'll take you. After I talked to him for about an hour, I said, yeah, I'll take you tomorrow. That night, my grandson, this boy called Mother and said he died that night. So I didn't have to take him. But I got to thinking about it. God put him on me. Because he needed God. And I told him he did. I said, you don't have to go to church. You don't have to believe it. Just believe in God and Jesus. I said, just tell him. You believe in him. Forgive you. I said, he will. I said, that's all you need. So I don't know if he did or not. Same with my brother Harry. I told him the same thing when I called him. He was down there in Missouri, dying in the bed. I told him the same thing. If you don't, they said, there ain't none. I said, you're here? How'd you get here? I said, Mother always told me I'm here because she turned me out of a rock. Turned it over. Got me. She did tell me that. I found you under a rock. I said, there wasn't room in that rock for all of us. Yeah, I told him. I got him laughing. I said, I'm coming down here to see you. I don't want you to come see me. I said, why? He said, I want you to see what I look like. I said, Harry, you don't look like nothing that I ain't seen before. I said, when you're in the service, I've seen a lot of things. I said, I'm coming down in the morning. I said, I'll be there. I said, in the morning. Well, he died that night. Bled to death.
Yeah, him and Sonny were going to go down.
Yeah.
Who was, which brother was it you said on the side of the hospital bed?
Larry, Baldy.
Okay.
He's down to one of the youngest ones, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was me, Harry, and Baldy, and Jack.
Right.
Yeah. Baldy, he was down St. Joe there in the hospital. Couldn't get out of bed. My brother Jack, he took me in, we went down there. I sat on the edge of the bed, the nurse come in, she said, you can't sit on the bed. I said, well, I'm sitting on the bed. And I did. Well, he's laying down there and he stayed nothing straight around. He sat there beside of me. We talked. Got to go to the bathroom. The nurse called her. She never come. Well, he said, Sonny, I can't stand it. I got to go to the bathroom. I put my arm around his ear. I have to be in there. So I helped him into the bathroom and back out, sat down. We sat there at the edge of the bed and here come the nurse. Well, she said, I was busy. She said, I can take you to the bathroom now. Well, that's what my brother did. So she left. Jack, he come to me and he says, Linda called. She got to go to the store. So we're going to have to leave. I said, you got to go? Go. How are you going to get home? I said, my wife come get me. I call her. I said, I ain't leaving, Molly. I sat there for 4 hours talking with him. I told him about God, well, Ben about it. I didn't push it. I didn't want to push it to him. I said, Baldy, I said, you know, there's got to be, like Charlie and them says there ain't, a God or a heaven. I said, but you know there's got to be, because your wife's going to church with your daughter. I said, there wasn't. Why's your daughter going to church? There's the one daughter by New Buffalo down in Michigan City. I said, why'd she go to church? Why'd your wife go down there and go to church with her now? I said, if there ain't. He sat there and he looked at me. I said, what you got to do? I said, just tell him. Ask him to help you. Tell him to forgive you. I said, you'll feel much better. I said, you'll lay down there and you'll laugh. I said, just think about him. Think about your wife and him going there, church. I said, just think about him. Put it in your mind. Just think about him. I said, it'll make you feel lots better laying there. So I don't know if he did or not. After 4 hours, I had to go because Jack, he couldn't stand it. He was walking around, because his wife was going to get all over him. I told Jack, I said, who's the biggest, your wife or you? I said, you said you can't half see anyway. I said, she won't get you because you can't see yet. My goodness.
But all 3 of those boys died with most of the same thing. And we know.
They all come to me.
Yeah.
And we stick with one of them.
Yeah.
Because they knew that I talked with the Lord.
Yes.
And they had quit really having anything to do with him all these years.
Well, that's about where we're going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the first part of this video and that you'll come back in a few days and see the second one. I hope you've hit the subscribe button and the like button and then the notification bell, and that way that you'll be notified when the next video goes up. Sonny comes back the next time and he tells us a little bit about his passion about serving Jesus. And so please make sure you're back with us with a fresh cup of coffee and you're ready to sit and listen to the last part of what Sonny has to share with us and Carolyn has to share with us. And we'll enjoy that together, and we'll see how God pursues us as we're walking and looking for Him. Thank you again for coming and for being here. We so appreciate you and how much you do for us. Thank you. God bless.